Well, hello, Periscopers. Come on in, tell me who we got. And welcome to the Drive with John on my daily drive home, where you get to be tortured with me in traffic on my way home. Today we're going to talk about the history of now, and if we have time, we'll talk about GPS versus paper maps. And if you guys have ever used any of those technologies, then you'll come to appreciate where they've all come from. Rule number one is I won't be looking at the screen very often because I will be driving, so I'll be looking out the front, as we talked about last time. So when I come to a stoplight, I'll take a glance and we'll see what you guys are talking about. So we'll get started here. I don't know how long the trip is home today with the traffic. We'll find out together. But it's a beautiful hot day, and let's see here, it was about 5 minutes after it stopped raining I remembered that I left my windows cracked to let the heat out, but my seat's not wet. And hello Ireland. I am in Northern Virginia, just south of DC, and since I'm kind of new to Periscope, I decided figure out what people wanted to hear from me, and a couple people said let's talk about technology because that's what I know. And so what I wanted to talk about today was the history of now. And you know, everyone wants stuff now. One of my favorite Homer Simpson things is he's looking at the microwave and it says cooks an entire turkey in 3 seconds, and he says, "Aw, but I wanted it now." And you know, when you look back at the history of now and how communications started off, we're talking prehistoric. I mean, ever since the beginning of time, there's been communication of some form. And a couple of the things that I looked at in preparation for this scope was what types of communication were they using back then. And you know, the earliest forms of communication were smoke signals, like you see in the cartoons with the Indians and the puff and smoke going in the air, but also the use of semaphores or drums or instruments to traverse a wide space with their communication. If you're into cryptology at all, you can imagine that the first written language was entirely encrypted to anyone who didn't know how to read it. Oh, we have a lot of traffic. I just turned off of my main road, onto the main road I should say, and I'm already coming to a stop and the light is a mile away. So this might be a long trip, and thanks for being with me, and just tell me where you're from. We're here in Northern Virginia. Back to the history of now. The first forms of communication back, like 3000 BC are some of the first known forms of papyrus, or writing on paper. And that was like an ingenious way to communicate with people from across a large span. Hey, in DC in Northern California. Yeah, I'm just south of DC, about 30 miles by Quantico. So I make the trip. It's really only about 9 miles from work to home, but sometimes it takes me 40 minutes. Sometimes it only takes me 15. I am blessed. Either way, 40 minutes or 15, still blessed. I understand that and I appreciate that. Back with paper and different things. One of the cool things that I found in prep for this cast was hydraulic semaphores. Hydraulic semaphores. If you've ever heard of hydraulic semaphores, give me some love. No love. Okay. A hydraulic semaphore was used, man, I don't remember how long. It was 6th century BC. That's when it was. 6th century BC. So you've got, we want to communicate with each other. So what we do is we have a drum that holds water, and we make 2 drums identical that hold water. Then in the middle of this drum we put a stick, and on that stick from the bottom to the top has different notes, if you will, pre-arranged notes between the two. So it'd be used like a defensive thing. At the top of the stick there might be invaders, and then the next one on the stick might be Navy ships, the next one might be light cavalry, the next thing might be something else, whatever we come across or whatever we pre-plan. Then we fill both of our buckets with water, and you're on a hill in line of sight 2 or 3 miles away, maybe 5 miles away. Yeah, zombies could be on the stick, yeah. And so then I'm on my hill, and I need to get this message to you that zombies are attacking, and I need to get it to you quick so that you can prepare, even if they overrun my location. So I light a torch and I hold it up in the air. You see that I have a torch lit up in the air. You hold your torch up in the air, and then we synchronize, and we pull the corks out of our barrels at the same time and let the water out. Then the idea is when I cover my torch or put out my torch, you put the cork back in your barrel, and whatever the water line is at is the message that I'm trying to get across. So you can imagine that depending on how big the cork is would determine how quickly this form of communication would have to occur. But it could be anywhere from a few seconds to several minutes, depending on what the message is. If it's at the bottom of the barrel, it's going to be a while before your light goes out. And I thought that was pretty ingenious as well. And different types of communication that still took time. And then when you start writing letters, it's like, okay, well, instead of doing this smoke signal thing, it's not as important. We don't have to send an immediate message. Let's figure out how to write it down. So we write it down on pieces of paper. Back then was papyrus. Write it down, slap it in a pseudo envelope. I don't know. No, they used to do the seals with the wax. Remember? So yeah, remember, like you were there, right? 6000 BC. I look good for my age. The paper would then be taken by a carrier, and that was the first form of mail, roughly 3000 BC or 2000 BC. So even way back then, we had the postal service as I drive behind a UPS truck. But that would take time. It'd take weeks, depending on how far that letter had to go. And so then they came up with different forms of communication. How to get that message there faster. That not as important as an immediate message, but still get that message there quicker. So then they started coming up with pigeons or carrier pigeons. And that was still several thousand years before Christ, BC. Then they started having, it wasn't until like the 1700s, lots of pigeons landing to Winterfell. Yes, winter is coming. It wasn't until like the 1800s that electronic communication increased the rate at which you could send non-critical messages. With the first, use of Morse code or Thomas Edison's, that was a light bulb. The telephone, Thomas Edison. It was several thousands of years that the mail system was like the only way to get messages, non-important messages, from one point to another. By telegraph. And even then, those types of communications had to be predetermined on both sides. So both sides had to know exactly what was being said. Otherwise, you'd have to have mail. And even then, I had to be sending it to someone who could read my dirty handwriting. And my grandma honestly said that I should be a doctor because I can write prescriptions that are valid in 6 states. There are countless ways that letters can be lost. Different things can come up, whether it's, raided by Indians or the ship sinks if it's going across the pond. So the letter just wasn't as enticing anymore, because now you could send streams of data across it. Then what happens? We get even quicker when Al Gore invented the internet and email subsequently. And email became like a super now. It's like, you mean you can send a letter in seconds to someone around the world? And I remember my first email address. All right, give me some love if your first email address was CompuServe. All 2 of you. Anybody? CompuServe? No? What was your guys' first email domain? I don't need your whole email address, it's probably not even valid anymore. But what was your first email domain? Who'd you get it through? Hotmail? Through CompuServe? AOL? Oh boy. Juno? JunoNet? Was it Juno.com? There were not a whole lot, I know that. There was also the bulletin boards. I used to connect to a bulletin board back on my 56K modem and downloaded games. We used to get Commander Keen and download it over our 56K modem, and we thought that getting a game across the telephone line in under an hour was so now. Just beyond belief. You tried a bunch of those services back then. I was in Alaska when CompuServe was really popular, and all they had was 14.4 connectivity, and my CompuServe email address was a super long number, and then they allowed us to convert our number over to actually something that you could remember, and I did Alaska Polak because I'm Polish, but I spelled Polak wrong, so it looked like Alaska Pollock. And so my grandparents got my first email and they said, "What's an Alaska Pollock?" That was embarrassing because CompuServe wouldn't let me change it again to correct the spelling. So yeah, my own fault, I know. But after email, people are still saying that email is still too slow. Now, how can you get any quicker than just a few minutes between point A and point B with your mail server? It makes it really difficult. Now is much quicker than now even 5 years ago. And then they came up with tweeting of I should have asked somebody is what I should have done, but I was just so excited and I thought I had to just pick it right now, and I was living by myself at the time, and so I didn't have anyone to bounce it off. I should have called I could have called someone. I would have had to disconnect the internet and then call someone because I only had one phone line. But thanks for joining, Mariano. We are talking about the history of now. And right now we're talking about the old school email and how quickly email came from one place to another. But people still think that email was slow. Email was so yesterday, right? So then they came up with, party lines. Yeah. Yep. I'm sitting completely still right now, and there's nowhere for me to go. And there's a guy trying to turn left and a lady trying to turn right. So after that, the emails, they had Twitter, and tweeting was like so now, because then it was like now you can know exactly what somebody's doing when they're doing it. And that got crazy because it was like if you were following somebody at the beginning of Twitter, you're like, yeah, well, I know they're going to the bathroom. Well, now I know they're eating. Now I know they're at work. Now I know what they're doing every second of the day. And then there was the whole thing of I know where they're not, because if they're tweeting that they're at work, then I know they're not home. So then I would be able to go home to their house and rob them while they're not home because I know where they are. And I know when they'll be home because they'll tweet where they are when they are. And that was like the new now. But now we have this new technology, which is this Periscope. How do you get any more now than live video in someone's car? Now here's a good question for you guys. What was the first webcam and what was it designed for? Or who came up with the first webcam? It wasn't porn. Yeah, I promise it wasn't porn. The first webcam. Anyone know? All two of you again. I'm down to two. I was up to 5 and now I'm down to 2. Let's see. 2 live viewers. That's all I got with me. A Jenny cam? No. Hi, Jessica. We're talking right now about the history of now, and I'm just asking the question of what was the first webcam used for? And if you know, pop it in the chat. Give you a couple more seconds. The first webcam was designed, or built, I should say, by computer programmers because they were too lazy to go into the next room to see if the coffee was done. So they set the webcam to point at the coffee maker, and then they could go to a website that took a picture like every 2 or 3 seconds and uploaded it to this website. They could go to the web page, refresh, and see when the coffee was done, and then get in the next room to get their coffee. Those developers are crazy people. I'm a system administrator, so I deal with developers every day. They don't sleep at regular intervals. They don't think at regular intervals. They just code. I think that's all they ever do is code and eat pizza rolls. So that was the first webcam, and that was now to them because they were able to see exactly when the coffee was ready to be picked up so that they could continue coding. Flash forward when I got online and started seeing there was a guy in Florida that had a webcam in his car, and you could see where he was driving all day long when he was out in his car. I just thought that was so cool because you could see exactly what was going on. It was about a 30-second, 40-second delay. Now, I just thought that was really neat because it's like now it's mobile live-ish, 40 seconds live for a webcam. And it was just the neatest thing ever. How do you get any more live or now than that? Then I became the producer for a hockey team up in Alaska where we did the broadcast, and I was responsible for that. I actually did the commentary for several years, the play-by-play, and once we moved into the production of it and had the equipment in the back, I was responsible for making the live feed where people were watching from home. We had a roughly 15 to 20 second delay. So now we went from 40 seconds to 20 seconds. And from the beginning, Justin TV. Yeah, truckers, exactly. So that you could watch them live. So then I started doing the hockey stuff, and we were able to do instant replays real quick, right now, live, people watching 15 seconds later, and that got pretty now. But now, with Periscope, you're able to be in my car from wherever you are in the world in, what, 10, 15 seconds? How do we get any more now than Periscope? And that's where it comes to you. What are your guys' thoughts on what could we possibly do to make now quicker than it is right now? And when you start to think about that, and you think, well, quantum mechanics, I don't know, maybe you think quantum mechanics, I do, but I'm a geek, so I think about things like that. But how can you possibly neural connection? Exactly. That's one way. I was just reading today, as a matter of fact, how these kids are, well, I call them kids because I'm 40 years old. I know I look 16, but it's my complexion. These kids are making this new computer called a MEM computer, which is designed around the human brain, and it's supposed to be able to process things at much faster rates than current computers, which would possibly keep Ohm's law, or not Ohm's law, oh my gosh, not Ohm's law. Help me out here. What was the law about the computer speed getting faster, doubling in speed every such and such months? Not Ohm's law. That's a math thing. Moore's law. Thank you very much. If this MEM computer works out great and they make this prototype, this could change the game in computing, because right now computers, they take it from memory, take it to a processor, and then that processes the data, and then it sends the results back to memory to be stored. In our brains, it both stores and processes the information where it's stored. It doesn't have to move data. Your brain doesn't move data from one place to another. It stores it and accesses it from where it's stored and processes it where it's stored. But this MEM computer will work the exact same way, processing it where it's stored, which will make it 10 times faster, 100 times faster even than current computers and processing. That can change the now into being a whole lot quicker than the current now. And computers, we know now, process things in what they call bogomips, or billions of, is it bogomips? Yeah. Billions of, oh man, see, now I can't remember that. Billions of operations per, MIPS. Millions of instructions per second is MIPS. Then there's the millions of instructions per second. And then there's another one, like bogey MIPS, or bogo. But it's how many instructions per second. And I should know that because I'm a systems administrator. But I don't remember the acronym because I'm driving. So yeah, that's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. The sun is in my eye. And the traffic is actually really bad today. I should have taken my other shortcut. But then you guys would have missed out on torture time with John. So with this new computer, making now quicker will make processing video games much quicker. Millions of gigabits per second. Thank you so much. What is that? Webbed out? Thank you so much. And I should have known that. So I fail at that one. If that was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I would be broke. Of course, I probably would have seen it in the answers and then would have remembered it. But with neural connections, once the computer is modeled around the human brain, it's only a matter of time before the human brain and a computer modeled in the same way can interact. Then it's only a matter of time after that before two human brains can interact. You could have phoned me. Phoned a friend, yeah. I will phone my friend. I don't know his real name. I just know his Twitter handle. And yeah, so I'll just have to follow you so that next time I'm on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, then I'll remember and I'll have to call you. So I did remember there was a computer test where they took two people, I'm sorry, and interfaced them together in some form or fashion where when one person felt pain, the other one felt pain as well. But I'm pretty sure a hammer would do the same thing. There's, to be able to interface with each other. Can you imagine the history from the history of now, where it went from hours or days or weeks to send someone a letter or a communication, down to being able to just think about it and they're thinking about it as well. That jump from where we are now will make the now seem slow then. Now wrap your head around that. And don't ask me to repeat that because I don't remember what I just said. Just throwing things out there. So that's the history of now. And I am excited to see where it can go, because even as a kid, I always thought it would be cool to be able to interface with a computer, like Matrix, the Matrix. Oh my gosh, the Matrix would be the future of now, because it's like, oh, I know Kung Fu. I always loved that part of the movie. I know Kung Fu. And Morpheus says, show me. That would just be so awesome. Or the ability to just download how to fly a helicopter and just know it, just like that. That would be crazy. Game shows would have to go away because there'd be no way. It's like I have the whole dictionary in my head. I have the whole Encyclopedia Britannica in my head, and I can know it now. So game shows would just be ruined, except maybe Wheel of Fortune, because that has chance, and maybe Deal or No Deal if that ever comes back. By the way, if you're not following Howie Mandel, you need to be following Howie Mandel. He's on Periscope, and he's really funny, and he actually answers your comments if you get in early enough to be able to comment. So that's now. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today was GPS and maps. GPS has gone so crazy nowadays. Every car has one built in. Our phones have GPS built in, and yet people still get lost. And talking with a buddy of mine this weekend, which made me want to do this on my scope today, was because people are still getting lost with they are a bit much. I agree with you. He called someone on the 4th of July to rip up concrete. Like, oh man, that is just mean. And they're like, oh really, what's your name? Howie Mandel. No really, what's your name? Howie Mandel. I thought that was funny, but if that was me being pranked, I'd probably be a little bit upset. Anyway, back to GPS. My wife put in an address here in Virginia, put an address on Route 1, and she ended up 2 counties south, because the place had the same number address and on the same road, but 2 counties down. And she ended up missing a meeting. She called me crying and frantic, and she's like, I don't know where I am. I'm like, well, you know how you got there, but you don't know where you are, and you didn't know where you were going to begin with. So GPSs, as accurate as they can be, can still cause people to get lost. And that blows me away, that people will put such trust in their GPS, such as the whole turn left now, and then you're in the ocean. And when people do that, it just ticks me off. Because you're dumb if you rely completely on one piece of the puzzle. Paper maps don't tell you to turn left into the ocean, but paper maps are so hard to read. Not the GPS itself. This is true. Yes, absolutely correct. Your GPS knows exactly where you are, and it is 100% correct as long as it has clear view of the sky. And of course, if you don't know GPS, it requires at least 3 satellites to triangulate your position. 4th to do altitude, and 5th to bring the area of your precision down to under 100 meters, I think. I don't remember what this generation is capable of. I think it's down to like 50 feet, and I don't think the federal government will let it go any closer than that. But so quick lesson on GPS about that. You know, we got these satellites in the sky. The satellites know exactly where they are, and they just send out a ping for their satellite, kind of like a lighthouse does, and it has a special code that the GPSs are then taught to, or programmed to intercept, and then based on those, it does some really easy math to determine exactly where it is on the planet. Then it has to overlay it onto a map that also has the information stored into that database. That database is what can be the issue. So the database says, "Oh, you're here," but the GPS knows where it is, and somehow it gets glitched, and then people make left-hand turns into the Potomac or the Pacific Ocean. So my wife calls me back, and she says, "I don't know where I am. I don't know where I'm going, and I'm lost, and I missed my meeting," and she's swearing at me. So I've been trying to teach my wife how to read paper maps, and I showed her that even if you don't have a paper map, you can still use your GPS to pan to where you're going. So you put in your destination, it gives you a route, you follow your route on the GPS, and you say, okay, now I know where I am, I know how to get there from here, I know where I'm going. If I get off track, I'll know how to get back on track because I'll have already looked. We were someplace and following the route, and there was a lot of traffic, and I looked at the GPS and I could see that there was a quick left-hand turn and a right-hand turn that would put us at a light that we'd have to go straight through. I said, well, I'll just go this way. And she's like, do you know where you're going? I said, no, I don't know where I'm going, but I can see on the map where I want to go, and I can get there from here. And so I would do that, and it would always blow her away on how I could figure that out. And it's all because I learned how to read a paper map. So if you're of the age where you're teaching someone to drive, show them a paper map. All 3 of my kids are homeschooled, and so I had the opportunity to instruct them, and I showed them how to read maps. I showed them how to draw maps, showed them how to navigate through those maps, and how to track distances and to make new routes and plan different things, and how to get from point A to point B safely. And so it's very important that you teach your kids, or whoever it is you're going to teach to drive, how to read a map before you show them how to use the GPS. When I drove, I was in the Air Force, and I got out of tech school and had to drive to Alaska, and I got out a paper map, and I memorized all of the highways that I needed to take to get from Shepherd Air Force Base, which is in Wichita Falls, Texas, not Kansas, and went from Shepherd Air Force Base all the way up to Seattle. I memorized every single one of the highway numbers to get there, and that way, and I didn't have a GPS, so the map was the only way that I was getting there. This was back in '95, the beginning of '95. February of '95 is exactly when it was. So I drove all the way from Texas up to Seattle, and using just paper maps, memorized my routes, knew the exit numbers that I had to get off on, and I didn't get lost at all. And I had never driven in that area of the country. I'm originally from Detroit and Michigan area, so you put me in the out in the west, where everything is flat and long roads and highways, and then drive up into the mountains for the first time. Oh my goodness, but I had my map with me, so I knew where I was at all times. Every time I came to a stop to eat, I checked off where I was. And I'm showing my kids how to do that with their maps. This way, when they get onto a GPS and they say, I need to get from point A to point B and get there safely, they'll have all the tools that they need in order to read the GPS. So you put in your location on the GPS, you pan with your finger, get over to where your destination is, you follow your line, and you say, okay, I know where I'm going. And now with Google Earth, and maps, and if you use Microsoft's map system, then good on you, because then you can put in the address on there, and then you can see where you're going before you even get there. I used to repair TVs back in Alaska as well, and when I would call the people and say, okay, I need to get to your house, what's your address? I get their address. I say, what color is your house? They tell me the color of their house, and I say, give me a distinguishing feature of the outside of your house. Now these are two things anyway that you can't get off of a GPS: the color of the house that you're going to, and a distinguishing feature in front of your house. So yellow house, and we have a giant purple dinosaur that our kids play on in the front yard. Can't miss that house. That way when you put the address in your GPS, you know that the address on your GPS is not at your porch. It's somewhere within 100 feet or so, which in the case of us, we live in a townhome, it could be any one of 5 units. So you're knocking at the wrong door because you didn't get more information than what the GPS would just give you. So you put the information in the GPS, you say, okay, I'm going to a yellow house. You look on Google Maps, you say, go down to Street View if it's available and say, oh, look, there's a yellow house. And now you have the information you need to get close to the house. So when you pull into the neighborhood, you go, oh, there's a yellow house. Oh, across the street is a yellow house as well. Uh-oh, which one is it? Then you go, where's the purple dinosaur? There's the purple dinosaur. I'm at the right house. And my dad showed me how to do that. Now, I know when you're in like a city area, one side of the road is even, one side of the road is odd. Alaska, that's not the case. It jumps all over the place. And I'm discovering here that the roads here are like so windy in Northern Virginia that there is no left side and right side, because you're like, well, is it left side coming from the other way or left side coming from the... it's really hard, and plus people don't know their left from their right to save their life. So having a distinguishing feature about the front of the house allows me to figure out left or right on my own, and there's an accident up here. Yay, gotta get in the left lane. I'm gonna see if we can't scope this accident. You guys want to see an accident? How about that, huh? Let's go like this. Oops. All right, front camera is on. Let's see if I can't do this safely. See, you don't get any more now than this. It's like you guys aren't even here and you're about to... We can gawk together as we go past this accident. And I'm going to put my... That's the other thing with safe driving. If you're coming up to an accident or in traffic, leave a window partially down so that you can hear if there's any other emergency services coming. And there's a police officer out here. Oh, looks like he got rear-ended. Well, where's the other guy? Oh, man, he got rear-ended good. But I don't see the... Oh, here he is. Yeah, he pulled up and around the corner here. There's the other guy. Let's see if we can get the front of his truck. Not too good. All right, flipping back to the front. Come on. Back to the front. How about that, huh? Oh, and I better pay attention or I'm going to rear end the guy in front of me. This is why it's dangerous to scope and drive. Don't scope and drive. Get back over. So anyway, back to GPS. My dad showed me all of the reading maps, how to read maps. I learned in geometry class how to triangulate. Surprisingly, I did not learn it in the military because I was in the Air Force and we never go in the woods. Well, at least my career field never went in the woods. On duty anyway. We would go in the woods to play like in the wintertime and stuff, but I never had to triangulate in the woods. Because of the Air Force or military. But my geometry teacher showed me that. So I'm actually almost close to home. So we're going to be finishing up here in just a few minutes. Real quick, if you miss my cast, I'm going to do this just about every day on the way home from work. It'll be anywhere between starting anywhere between 3 and starting about 4, maybe sometimes a little later, depending on whether or not the man lets me leave. If you miss my casts, you can check me out at therumfelts.com. That's therumfelts.com. And there will be a tab at the top that says the Driving with John tab. And my previous scopes will be up there. Of course, I know Periscope holds them for 24 hours, so you'll always be able to see yesterday's. or any others that I do. And if you follow me, I'll follow you. And so with that, we'll just shoot the breeze. I still have 2 viewers, so anything else? Your thoughts? How'd I do? Feedback? You can call me an idiot if you want to. Tell me I'm not funny, because I don't think I'm funny. Say anything you want. Give me love. No hearts today, which means that they're all guys. So I know that my viewers are guys when they don't give me love, because we don't do that. They need like a high five. So you have hearts and high fives. That would be cool. Now, you know the thing about the hearts, my wife told me this, she scopes a lot. She said that if you keep tapping and do the hearts, and you make like a certain number of hearts, it causes what's called a heart attack. And at the developer's office, they have a little bubble machine that's connected, and whenever there's like hearts, it blows bubbles or something like that. So if we did that, but we had high fives, would there be like a little high five machine in their office that slaps someone in the face? That'd be cool. But running out of things to say here. I know I got 2 viewers. So we talked today, recap, we talked today about the history of now, going back from hydraulic semaphores to the first telegraphs and the first bit use of Morse code across the airwaves, to telephone, to email, to Twitter, to Periscope, and started talking about neural connectivity between computers and brains and people. And then we talked about GPS. All in all, a pretty good day. And if you have any topics that you'd like me to feature on my limited wisdom, I will look it up. I don't just come on and just blindly say stuff. I'll check it out. I'll look it up. I know how to spell Polak now, and you just tell me what you want. If you go up to therumfelts.com, you can comment on the Daily Drive page. You should be able to, or you can. I think there's a way you can like tag me in your Twitter thing. I still haven't played a whole lot with Twitter. I'm old, so I really stick on Facebook, where the other parents are. My daughter made me proud, and she said she doesn't want a Facebook account. That really made me happy. No wonder all into all of that. I said, there's going to be something new coming out. My kids are always asking. My 2 boys are saying, when can I get a Facebook account? And I told them, I was like, by the time you're 13, there will be something better. And I'm sure there will be. I mean, Periscope is better, but I don't know if I'd want my 13. I've seen little kids out here on Periscope. I'm like, I thought you had to be 13 to do any of this stuff like Facebook and Twitter and any of those, the other social media sites. I thought you had to be 13. But no, I've seen kids as young as 8 on Facebook. Matter of fact, when I was trying to get my my Twitter handle, I wanted AK Scooter. And there was like a 6-year-old with AK Scooter. I'm like, who the heck is this 6-year-old with AK Scooter as a Twitter handle? And I don't care what he's doing in kindergarten. Oh, rough day in kindergarten. Why do you have a Twitter handle at 6 years old? He probably has an iPhone. How much you want to bet he has an iPhone? Ticks me off. Grumpy old man here. That should have been my... I'm going to see if Grumpy Old Man is available. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I am turning in to come towards my house, so I am going to sign off here. Thanks for watching, and I know I'm getting hearts now because that is my lovely wife. You can follow her, too, Sarah Mascara MK, or you can follow me on Periscope, John Rumfelt, or my Twitter handle, VA Scooter. Check me out at therumfelts.com later, and see you guys tomorrow.